Individuals who are willing to give you feedback do so because they care. What up, guys? Welcome to the Start Today podcast. I'm your host, Chris Cavallini. Today, it's just me, and I have an extremely fascinating discussion to have with you guys. All right, I'm going to share with you guys some insights, some evidence, and just some research that, I truly believe will help elevate your perspective and consciousness in a way that will allow you to just to begin to achieve more at a faster rate. Okay, this the information that we're gonna talk about here in just a second. It's something that when I read about this a couple of years back, it really opened up my eyes to a lot of things and completely changed my perspective, and really made me realize how little I actually knew in the grand scheme of things. And, when you guys hear that, you might think that that's a bad thing, but it's actually not, because it's not until we come to terms and accept how little we actually know are we then able to start actually growing and evolving, doing better, doing more, and creating, new results in our lives. See, if we're closed off to the fact that there's room for improvement, if we actually believe that we're just crushing it with everything that we do and that we know everything about, anything that we deal with in our lives, we're fucked. That is, not textbook, but it's the equivalent to the textbook definition of, what it means to have a fixed mindset. All right, guys, you guys hear me talk about it all the time. All right, whether on the podcast or through my social media platforms, I live my life every day, waking up, exploring the possibility and looking for areas that I need to improve on based upon the fact that, I take into consideration, full on consideration, that to this point in my life, how I've done things, regardless of what those things are, it isn't or may not, in fact, be the best way of doing it. And literally, this is with everything. This is not just with my shortcomings. This isn't just with the things that I know I need to improve on. This is with the things that may be going really, really well. Really well. The things that the things that I'm excelling at, okay, to normal standards. I have no interest in peaking. I have no interest in hitting a ceiling. I have no interest but doing anything but continuing to raise the bar and move forward. And the only way that I'm going to do that is by having an open mind and realizing that there is, in fact, a much better way of doing things. The fool doth think he is wise, but the wise man knows himself to be a fool. All right, in 1599, Shakespeare wrote that in As You Like It. Now, little did he know at that time, but this line perfectly encapsulates the thesis of what's come to be known in the field of psychology as the Dunning-Kruger Effect. All right, the Dunning-Kruger Effect is a cognitive bias in which people assess their cognitive ability as being far greater than it actually is. It's related to the cognitive biases of illusory superiority, and comes from human beings' inability to basically recognize their lack of ability. It was first revealed in a 1999 study by a couple guys called David Dunning and Justin Kruger. These were psychologists, and basically the study was later labeled and referred to as unskilled and unaware of it: how difficulties in recognizing one's own incompetence lead to inflated self-assessments. All right, the inspiration for this study actually came after a 1995 double bank robbery, where a robber decided to hold up two banks at gunpoint in broad daylight. All right, the robber had a gun, but he didn't wear a mask. All right, that part is very, very important. He had a gun, but didn't wear a mask, despite robbing multiple banks in broad daylight. Obviously, banks have cameras, right? So he was recorded from, literally every move was recorded from every possible angle. Police immediately put his picture up all over the local news and almost instantly received multiple tips that helped them track the suspect down and ultimately make an arrest. Now, when they went to perform the arrest, they noted that the robber seemed just extraordinarily confused. An on-site FBI agent recounts hearing the robber say, "But I wore the juice." All right, that was a quote. And, he was saying this as he was being escorted and hauled off to jail. Once being questioned and realizing that he was basically dead to rights, he made a deal, right, which would include him, pleading guilty in order to get a reduced prison sentence. Now, during his confession, where he basically admitted to being guilty and just kind of gave his reasoning for doing what he did, he basically let the detectives, the FBI agents, whoever was interviewing him, know that he didn't think he'd get caught because at one point in his life, he'd actually learned that lemon juice can be used as invisible ink. Apparently, if you write something down on a piece of paper with lemon juice, you won't be able to see it until you heat that thing up, and later it would become visible. So you heat it up and then the writing would then become visible. So this guy basically thought that same principle with the lemon juice would hide his identity on camera or in any subsequent photographs of his face. And he, basically smeared lemon juice all over his face before he went and robbed these banks. All right. And he was confident that, as long as he stayed clear of, any environment or, surfaces with elevated temperatures, that he'd be good to go. So this news actually made headlines after the police obtained the confession, and this information was part of that. And it was basically put out there and also publicly stated that, the robber, the guy wasn't on drugs. He wasn't deemed incompetent, and he wasn't crazy. Right? He actually believed that his plan would work. So a psychologist by the name of David Dunning, who was a professor at Cornell at the time, came across the story, and he was just oddly fascinated and basically wanted to look into this and just determine how this bank robber could have been so confident executing this plan that, was so blatantly fucking stupid. So the theory that him and his colleague developed is that almost all of us view our abilities, our skills, knowledge, and basically understanding of why things are the way they are as significantly above average. And we're most likely to assess our skills as being significantly better than they really are. And basically, this objective assessment is typically formulated based off our immediate surroundings, the people that, we spend the most time around, and obviously our very, very limited perspective of the bigger picture. I call this an illusion of confidence that stems from ignorance, right? Because I believe that the issue with incompetent people is when you're incompetent, you really have no way of knowing that you're incompetent. In fact, if you're an incompetent person and somebody would actually refer to you as incompetent, you would deny it. Not only would you deny it, you would feel very, very strongly that that's simply not the case. That's the problem with incompetent, closed-minded people who maintain a fixed mindset. The solution to this issue that plagues so many in society is learning to practice humility, all right? A lack of humility is a massive vulnerability. And it's a huge problem for so many because, not just in the fact that it holds people back from growing, but because they're unaware of it. They're unaware of it, which puts them in a position where it's essentially impossible to evolve. It's impossible to improve. And, not only that, you go through life, navigate your way through life, thinking you're doing all the right things. And then when you don't get the results, you become bitter, resentful, frustrated, negative. You adopt a victim mindset. So, most people, they're going to tell you they're humble, right? They're going to tell you they practice humility if you were to ask them. But the easiest and most effective way to actually gauge humility is how people take or accept feedback, whether it's feedback from other people or feedback from the universe that comes in the form of results, or in most cases, like a lack of results. How open you are or are not to feedback essentially determines your ability to grow. I just don't know that like it's possible to get better if you can't accept feedback, whether it's through, criticisms that you get from other people, whether it's from, feedback you get from your boss, input you get from your friends, people who know you, or again, like the feedback that is all around you. Like your life is feedback. Every fucking area of your life is feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. And it's there for a reason, guys. But you have to understand that it's there for a reason, and you have to look at it for what it actually is, which is a tool that's going to help you grow. People, unfortunately, they tend to only want to look at or seek out feedback that's comfortable, that's convenient, right? That feels good. Anything else is typically met with resistance, excuses, or an attempt to rationalize their behaviors and just kind of way of doing things. Without even thinking, people are going to immediately default to that course of action, because like at the end of the day, like human beings, we really enjoy being right. We just do. We like being right. And there's nothing wrong with that. But here's the thing. It feels good to be right. No question. But whether we like it or not, the objective feedback is always there. And ultimately, like if we want to move forward, if we want to grow, if we want our circumstances to be more than they currently are, we need to reference that and literally allow it to serve as the ultimate decision maker. Put our egos aside, put our sensitive little feelings aside, and just utilize the feedback that's there. It's there. It's not, the feedback is there. It doesn't take sides. It can't take sides. It's objective, meaning it tells you like it is, not how you want it to be. So obviously failing is a part of the process. We know that failure is not a bad thing. To fail is human, but to confidently persist in the same idiotic, reckless actions over and over and over again that have produced a failing result time after time, it's irresponsible. It's dumb. It's fucking, it's insanity. It's insanity. The thing about the bank robber, circling back to that, that story, is the guy learned what he did. They didn't really get into that in the study, how he learned about the lemon juice thing. But the guy, he actually tried to validate. He tried to validate to make sure it worked before he went and robbed these two banks without a mask in broad daylight. To check his theory, the guy basically put lemon juice all over his face and then took a Polaroid of himself. All right, Polaroid came out, and it was I don't know, some of you guys may have used a Polaroid before, some haven't. But sometimes the Polaroids, like what they were known for is if the picture didn't come out, it would just be like a blank, you take the picture, it would spit it out, and there would, the image for whatever reason didn't process. So the guy basically said that is what happened. Okay. He didn't see himself out of something. He didn't see his face. He didn't see anything, but this guy was so fucking like determined to be right that he looked at this as validation, that like he looked at this as feedback that his plan would actually work. I mean, like, I think that we can agree that that's a pretty good indication that, that's not a true metrics, and further testing would probably be needed to determine if this course of action would, essentially be effective. But because his mind was it was so fixed on taking this course of action, he wanted it to work so bad. He wanted it to be that fucking easy. He just decided right there, right then, that there was no cause for concern, and looked at it as a way to validate his argument to where he could take that level of action. Now, guys, how many times have you really wanted something that, seemingly was too good to be true, to work out in your favor. And, you look for as much supporting evidence to support your case. And, you did whatever you did only to not have it go the way that you wanted to go. And then after the fact, you were left frustrated, pissed off, and feeling like, maybe the world was conspiring against you and that, you're unique. And for some reason, this thing just isn't for you. It was noted in the case of, the robber with the lemon juice that he actually received feedback from law enforcement, like let him know about his lemon juice theory. It's like, hey, brother, so yeah, by the way, that's not a thing that actually will work, contrary to whatever you think that you read. But it didn't diminish, like they went on record to saying this did not diminish his certainty. And he still believed that, like, it would work and it should have worked. And his fixed mindset, like, just couldn't accept the feedback. And he simply just decided that, he must not have done it right. He must not have applied it the right way. He must have, gotten nervous. His body temperature before was, at a certain level. He put the shit on before going in because his heart rate was up. He was nervous. And maybe that, contributed to the lemon juice heating up and revealing his face. I mean, this guy, like, although he did plead guilty, he wouldn't accept the feedback that was given to him in the form of, the fact that not only it didn't work, but the people that took the time to explain to him, hey, like, this actually isn't a thing that actually works. Like, sorry about that. But despite having the validation, he just wouldn't accept it. Now, how many times, guys, has that scenario happened to you? In a professional capacity, I see a lot of people that are they're very confused. I get messages every single day from people that can't understand why they're not where they want to be. Right? Their metrics of comparison is normally, other people that they're working around, and they see other people like putting in the same amount of hours and getting opportunities, moving forward, getting pay advancements, getting more recognition. And they say, well, look, I work the same amount of hours. I cannot understand why I'm not getting those same opportunities. I don't understand why I'm getting, less pay and why am I not getting recognized? They don't for a second, like, take the time to think about the fact that what we're rewarded for in public is a result of the things that we do in private. People operate from their limited perspective, their limited understanding of what they think they know. Guys, it's not about hours worked. It's not about just showing up and doing your job and doing the things that you're supposed to do. It's about the value that you contribute. It's about bringing additional value to your organization, to your team, to your business that simply without you wouldn't be present. And when you utilize like metrics, like, the fact that you just show up to work and do what the hell you're supposed to do, and you look at the fact that you're putting in the same amount of hours as somebody else who's moving forward and growing, you're always going to like wonder why the hell you're not growing or wonder why good things aren't happening. That is not a fair or accurate metrics that will suit you, that will serve you, that will help you get where you want to be. Another thing that I see is people, they're people be very cocky, which leads to being closed-minded in a professional capacity. And they view themselves as, being the top dog, right? They're in a group, or, on a team, an organization, whatever, where the people at their level that, they may in fact be the best member of the team. They may in fact be the most skilled. They may in fact be the most experienced, whatever the case is. And then that is their metrics of how good they are. They think that because they're the best person, in reference to the people around them, that makes them, I don't know, that makes them some sort of like subject matter expert. That makes them, the top of the food chain. When I see this, okay, like it's very sad, because normally when this happens, It's actually the individual who views themselves as being, just extraordinary, being the king of the jungle. Like, they're not taking into account that the fact that the people around them ordinarily just aren't very good. And look, that's a common fucking thing that you see. Look, it's easy. If you're 5'8", 5'9", and you move to China, like, you could grow up your entire fucking life thinking that, like, you were like really, really tall, right? It's easy to be in a group of average or mediocre individuals and think that you're fucking awesome. But that's the problem, guys. We do not compare ourselves to other people. We compare ourselves to, look, the individual we were the week before, the month before, the year before. We compare ourselves using metrics that will actually, using feedback, using the information that we're given in all forms, using information that we can request. Hey, boss, look, like, I really am committed to improving. I'm committed to bringing more value to this company. It would mean a lot to me if you could just straight up tell me some of the things that I need to improve on. I know that I have a lot to improve on. I'm fully well aware of that. Some of the things I'm aware of and I'm actively looking to improve. But based off your experience, based off your higher perspective, can you please give me some insights on what I can do to bring more value, to become a more effective member of this organization, to where, in the future, if an opportunity opens up, I could be considered for it. How many of you guys have actually done that lately? How many guys have you actually done that at all? Guys, feedback, if we're not being given it from other people, see, feedback is it's a privilege, it's a luxury. And, if you have people in your life that care enough to give you that feedback, you better treat them well. You better respect them. You better embrace and relish that, because it is not an easy thing, especially when that feedback is negative in nature. Individuals who are willing to give you feedback do so because they care. And, unfortunately, people who have a closed, fixed mindset, they don't look at it as that. They look at it as, these people being mean, being negative, picking on them, right? Singling them out, being an asshole, whatever. Feedback is a privilege. And if you are fortunate enough to be in a position where you're given continuous feedback, not only do you need to make sure that, to the individual that is giving it to you, that they show your appreciation to them, but, like, you need to completely recognize that is a privilege. Okay. That is not a guarantee, because there's a lot of people out there who, like, you're not getting feedback. You're not getting feedback because you have leaders, you have supervisors, you have people, you have fucking friends that just don't give a fuck. They don't really care about you. They don't want to see you do better. Or maybe they do. Maybe they want to see you do better, but not if it means they have to have an uncomfortable conversation. Feedback is your responsibility. If you're not getting feedback, it is your responsibility to go and get it. Provided, of course, you want to fucking win. And I know if you're listening to this podcast that you do. All right. In a professional capacity, the best way to get feedback is twofold. Look around, look at your circumstances. Are you doing the same shit? Are you in the same fucking position that you have been for however long? Okay. If you are, it's time to make some adjustments. All right. The second thing is to ask for it. Simply going out of your way to ask that question not only will give you that information that you need to improve, but it'll also earn you a shit ton of respect with your superiors. Another area where feedback conveniently tends to be ignored is as it relates to fitness. With our company, we work with a lot of people. We work with a lot of beginners who start their fitness journey. They start this process, and they come into it with not the best mindset. And what, over the years, I've been interviewed hundreds of times and have been asked the question, what determines, whether or not somebody actually sees through their goals and accomplishes, their fitness goals and actually stays committed and consistent. And the answer is always the same: their mindset. A lot of times people come into this and they're frustrated. They have a very negative stigma, negative association with the process. They claim to have done everything. They claim, like, I eat good, I work out, yet I can't lose weight. I'm still fat. I still feel like shit all the time. And again, from their perspective, from their limited perspective, they believe that to be true. They believe that because, they eat well 60% of the time, that they should actually be getting 60% of the results. They believe that, because they work out a few days a week when, or fuck me, some people actually believe that because they work out, every day, 5-6 days a week, that they should be getting results. But, when the conversation goes a little deeper and, transparency is finally revealed, you find out that, they're eating, they're stuffing things in their mouth that are heavily processed, sugary, that in no way, shape, or form are going to contribute to the betterment of their health and support them losing weight. Because it doesn't matter how much you work out. Okay. And by the way, like when you're eating like shit, not only can you not out-train a bad diet, like when you're eating like shit, you can't work out as hard and as effectively as if you're fueling your body with what it needs to perform at optimal levels. And that's the thing most people are unaware of because they don't have like a comparison. They've never done it the other way. They don't know how good they're supposed to feel in the gym and how hard they're actually capable of going. People ask me all the time, like, man, where do you get that energy to train like that? How do you train like that? It's like, dude, I fuel myself with the shit that I need to fuel myself with in order to produce at that level, to put out at that level, to get after it at that level. Guys, the feedback is all around us at any given time. And, sometimes it's right there in plain sight. Other times it's our responsibility to elicit the feedback, to encourage the feedback. Every single time I get a message on social media from a customer of our company, maybe not every single time, maybe if I get it for the first time, I'm asking them, hey, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate, you making that investment in your health, in your confidence, in your quality of life. Please let us know if there's anything that we can do better. And that's a thing that, is instilled in our culture where we're constantly trying to pull out, like, people they come to us, they compliment us, they give us positive feedback, they give us, praise, recognition. They do posts for us, which means so much to us, whether it be on their stories, they do posts, whatever. But although we appreciate that, that's to us, that's what we're supposed to, that's what's supposed to happen. If we're doing our job, we're doing it well, like that should be the outcome. But what we want to know in those situations is, what can we do better? Because although, we have a pretty good system in here, and in the grand scheme of things, we do pretty good from customer service, branding our product. There are levels to this shit, and there's always ways to improve, always ways to get better. And the best fucking feedback that you can ever receive is not from yourself, but it's from other people who see things from a different perspective. Guys, reeling it all in. The Dunning-Kruger Effect is evidence, okay? It is evidence of our subjective understanding of the world. And if anything, it serves as a caution against assuming we're always right and highlights the importance of keeping an open mind, demonstrating humility at all times in every situation, and using objective feedback as the sole metrics of our own abilities. The only way we can get better and move forward is by beginning to accept the feedback that is generously available to us to help us improve. And it's there at all times. It's time you open your eyes and start using it. Start today.
Trouble on my mind, so much trouble on my mind.